Stephanie White, Kelly Krauskopf, Amber Cox, and that damn sports psychologist employed by the Indiana Fever. Congratulations, you four. You guys have successfully broken Caitlin Clark. Great job.
4 names, 1 mission. That's the accusation being thrown down right at the top of this podcast. Stephanie White, Kelly Krauskopf, Amber Cox, and a team sports psychologist employed by the Indiana Fever. And the charge against them is severe. That together, they've broken Caitlin Clark. The host isn't easing into this. He's pointing fingers before the intro music even fades. So what's the evidence behind a claim this explosive?
You guys have tried your damnedest to turn her into a role player. You guys have tried your damnedest to just make her, take a step back. Let everybody else get the shine. Swing the ball. You don't got to do it all by yourself, Caitlin. We're here for you. We're here for you.
This is the core argument, and it's a provocative one. The claim is that the Fever's coaching staff is deliberately trying to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player. Swing the ball, let everybody else shine. Don't do it all yourself. On the surface, that sounds like normal team basketball, but the host frames it as something darker, a systematic effort to make the most watched player in the sport take a step back. And he ties it directly to the business side of the league.
If I'm CBS, if I'm NBC, if I'm USA, if I'm any of these networks that agreed to say, you know what, we'll take some WNBA, but we want the Indiana Fever. And that's the version of the Indiana Fever you're going to get. What we just saw yesterday, that's the version of the Indiana Fever that we're going to get. The Stephanie White ball. Caitlin Clark not going rogue. When Caitlin Clark goes rogue, yeah, these networks get exactly what they asked for.
Here's where the argument gets sharp. The networks didn't sign up for just any WNBA basketball. CBS, NBC, the broadcast partners that loaded up their schedules with Indiana Fever games, they wanted the Caitlin Clark show. The host's point is blunt. When Clark plays aggressively, what he calls going rogue, the networks get exactly what they paid for. When she plays inside Stephanie White's system, getting subbed out 3 minutes into the game, they don't. It's an argument that the team's strategy is directly at odds with the league's biggest commercial draw.
Well, they don't get what they're asking for. Caitlin Clark looked beat down on that bench. And I don't think it's the outside noise. Please. It's inside the building. It's inside the house. It's the coach. It's the general manager. It's the president.
And this is the moment the whole video pivots on. The host says Clark looked beaten down on that bench, but he's adamant about the source. It's not the outside noise, the social media, the critics. It's inside the building, the coach, the general manager, the president, the sports psychologist. According to him, the problem isn't external pressure at all. It's the people who are supposed to be on her side. That's a serious charge to level at an entire front office, and it's worth pausing on how far he's willing to take it.
Caitlin Clark, it doesn't have to be like this. You have the power. You know what needs to be done. Stop letting them fuck with your legacy. Your coach said your team is faster with someone else at PG1. What else do you need to see?
Notice the language here. Stop letting them mess with your legacy. Your own coach said the team is faster with someone else running point. He's reading that as a smoking gun, proof that the staff doesn't value what makes Clark special. Now, a coach saying the team moves faster with a different ball handler in certain lineups is a fairly ordinary basketball observation. But in this telling, it becomes evidence of a conspiracy to diminish her. The interpretation matters more than the quote itself, and that's a pattern worth tracking through the rest of this.
Once you get rid of those 4 and you get rid of your stooge of an agent, Aaron Kane, you'll be free. And I know we don't want her to go the LeBron route, but at this point, you need to get rid of Aaron Kane and you need to call Rich Paul immediately. You need to get rid of Aaron Kane and call Rich Paul immediately. You think Clutch Sports is letting this happen to your legacy? You think Clutch Sports is letting this happen?
Now the argument moves into the business of representation. The host wants Clark to fire her agent, Aaron Kane, and call Rich Paul, the founder of Clutch Sports, who represents LeBron James, and a long list of NBA stars. His reasoning is about media power. He claims Clutch would never let a client's image get dragged the way Clark's reportedly has, pointing to a USA Today piece and back-to-back commentary from broadcaster Kerry Champion. The theory is that a more powerful agency would deploy its media connections to flood the zone with counter-narratives. It's speculative, but it reveals how he sees modern sports stardom, as much about media management as on-court play.
And I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, nothing's official yet. I wouldn't be surprised if she sits Thursday against the Atlanta Dream. I don't know. I'm sure the league would be pissed. You got a Caitlin Clark-Angel Reese matchup. Angel Reese at the Atlanta Dream. If I'm WNBA, I'd be pissed. But don't be surprised if the Indiana Fever say, yeah, you're sitting this game. Or that Saturday game against the Liberty. Yeah, you're sitting this game. Shout out to AB. I have a feeling you're right. They're going to sit her. Stephanie White has officially brainwashed Caitlin.
Here's a concrete prediction, and it's the kind of specific claim that's easy to check against reality. He says don't be surprised if Clark sits Thursday against the Atlanta Dream, a game that would feature the marquee Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese matchup, or the Saturday game against the Liberty. He acknowledges the league itself would be furious, because those rivalry games drive ratings. Whether or not that prediction held up, the logic is revealing. He's arguing the Fever's caution would override the league's commercial interests, putting team and league at cross purposes.
Yeah, y'all need to listen to this real quick.
Let up at all. They're going to stay full. They're going to be disruptive. I think for us, I think we got to get the ball inside to our post players. I think that's one way, or one key to the game that will help us win is to get AB and Mo and really whoever our post players are the ball.
No is right. Yeah, post players.
And here he leans into the dramatic framing. Stephanie White has officially brainwashed Caitlin Clark. That word, brainwashed, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It transforms a basketball disagreement about playing style into something almost sinister. This is the rhetorical engine of the entire video. Take ordinary coaching decisions and reframe them as manipulation. It's effective for engagement, but it's worth asking whether the evidence actually supports a word that strong.
What post players? What post players do we have that can consistently finish around the rim? AB, stop. Monique Billings plays 8 minutes, plays 10 minutes. Monique Billings has been a waste of a contract. AB, you give it to AB in the paint, and she's thinking hockey assist. She's thinking, I'm Nikola Jokic, and she kicks it away. Maisha Allen, okay. But that's not what needs to be done. What needs to be done is you need to get pick and rolls set for you, and you need to let it fly and play your game. You need to take it to the rack yourself. Screw the post players. Take it to the rack yourself.
Now we get to the basketball substance, and this is where the criticism is most grounded. The clip shows White saying the key to winning is getting the ball inside to post players, and the host's frustration here is rooted in actual personnel analysis. He runs through the roster. Aaliyah Boston, still developing her mid-range and three-point game. Monique Billings, limited minutes. He argues the Fever simply don't have a dominant low-post scorer who consistently finishes at the rim, so building the offense around the post over Clark's gravity makes little sense. Strip away the conspiracy talk, and there's a legitimate strategic debate here about how to maximize a generational guard.
I'm tired of every single game coming up here and watching Caitlin Clark not play her game. Then when she has a bad...
All we want to do is see her play her game. All we want to do is see her play her game. And he's going to go into it when he has a bad game. You're having a bad game handcuffed the entire time. You're not having a bad game playing your way. You're not having a bad game doing it your way. You're having a bad game being handcuffed. I would rather go down with the ship sinking doing it your way every single time. If you're 5 for 15 and we lose, you're 5 for 15 and we lose, and I'm okay with that. If you're 4 for 16 and we lose, then you're 4 for 16 and we lose, and I'm okay with that. Because I know we're at least going out on our shield and we're going out your way. We're going out the way that makes you the best player that you could possibly be.
This is the emotional core of his whole case, and it's the most relatable part. He says he'd rather watch Clark go down with the ship playing her own way. 5 for 15, 4 for 16. He can live with a bad game if it's the result of her attacking, using her gravity, forcing defenses to collapse. What he can't accept is Clark playing off the ball, where nobody's screening for her, nobody's looking for her, and the offense runs through other players who turn away from her at the top of the key. It's a fan's plea dressed up as analysis. Let the star be a star.
Look at these comments by Stephanie White at the end of the game. Stephanie White on why Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark subbed out at the 6:30-minute mark, after which Portland went on a 13-2 run. Well, AB is still on a minutes restriction, so that's why she's coming out, and that's typically around the same time that we've taken Clark out before. None of that is good at all. None of that is good at all. But again, wait, why are you specifying AB's on a minute restriction, but you're not specifying Caitlin Clark's on a minute restriction? Explain, please. We did it in Golden State because, quite honestly, we didn't want Raven in that environment without another ball handler on the floor, but that's been our typical substitution pattern.
And here's the detail that he treats as the real giveaway. After the game, Stephanie White explained the substitution patterns. Aaliyah Boston was on a minute restriction, which is why she came out around the same point Clark typically gets subbed. The host pounces on the asymmetry. Why specify a minute restriction for Boston, but offer no equivalent explanation for pulling Clark 3.5 minutes in? White added that against Golden State they kept Clark on the floor because they didn't want a backup ball handler running the offense in that environment. To him, that admission undercuts the whole substitution philosophy.
Terrible analogy, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Folks, you mow your lawn. What do you do before you mow your lawn? You start your engine. And what do? You let that engine warm up because it needs to warm up. Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, they're your engines. You gotta start that engine, let them warm up. 3.5 minutes isn't enough to let them warm up. They finally get into a rhythm, you get an 8-4 lead, 8-2 lead, and you take them out. Well, now they gotta start their engine again. But now we're not starting our engine to begin the game. Now we're starting our engine in the rhythm of a game of momentum we've already lost. This is coaching malpractice. This is coaching malpractice.
He lands on an analogy he admits is imperfect, but it sticks. You start your car's engine and let it warm up before a long drive. Clark and Boston are the Fever's engines. 3.5 minutes, just long enough to find a rhythm, build an 8-point lead, and then they're yanked. Now the engine has to restart cold, except this time the team has already surrendered the momentum. He references a stretch where the Fever lost a 13-0 run after Clark was subbed at the 6:30 mark. He calls it coaching malpractice. The phrase is dramatic, but the underlying point about rhythm and timing is one any basketball fan can wrestle with. So let's step back and weigh what we've actually heard, because there are really two separate videos competing inside this one. The first is the conspiracy video, the one with 4 named villains, the brainwashing, the sports psychologist cast as a manipulator, the demand to fire an agent and call Rich Paul. That version is built almost entirely on interpretation. A coach noting the team is faster with a different ball handler becomes proof of sabotage. A standard substitution pattern becomes a plot. It's compelling television, and it's engineered to make you angry. But strip it down and ask what hard evidence supports the word brainwashed, and there isn't much beyond the host's own reading of ordinary decisions. The second video is the basketball argument, and this one deserves to be taken seriously. The roster critique is real. If your post players aren't consistently finishing at the rim, running your offense through the post instead of through the gravity of the most dangerous perimeter player in the sport is a defensible thing to question. The point about rhythm and substitution timing is legitimate. Pulling your best players right as they find a groove is something coaches genuinely debate. The tension at the heart of all this is the collision between a team and a phenomenon. Stephanie White is coaching a basketball team. She's trying to build a sustainable system, develop Aaliyah Boston, manage minutes, and win games over a long season. The broadcast partners, on the other hand, bought into a spectacle. They want Caitlin Clark with the ball in her hands, taking and making the shots that broke viewership records. Those two goals don't always align, and that's the real story underneath the outrage. Because here's the genuine question, the one worth actually arguing about. Is the Fever's job to win basketball games the way their coach believes is sustainable? Or is it to maximize the once-in-a-generation player and the audience she commands, even if that means handing her the keys completely and living with the bad nights? Reasonable people land on opposite sides of that. And notice that the host never really proves the staff is acting in bad faith. He proves he disagrees with their philosophy, which is a very different thing. So I'll put it to you. Strip away the brainwashing talk, the 4 villains, the call Rich Paul drama. On the pure basketball question, who's right? Should Stephanie White keep coaching her system and developing the roster, or should the Fever build everything around Caitlin Clark and let her go down swinging her own way? You can't have it both ways. Pick a side and tell me in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns that separate the noise from the actual basketball, subscribe, because this Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever story is far from over.